Hi there, Robin here, and welcome to a Happy Infectious Faces video. Today's topic is I'm going to talk about the imperfect artist, and that would be me, at least my opinion anyway. So if you like artists chatting about art, please consider subscribing and commenting below to join in the regular conversation about art. Often, artists start with a vision in our brain of what we want to happen, say through painting or writing or sculpture, video, and sometimes that might be called inspiration. But it's really the nugget of an idea. Now, I can't speak for everyone, so I'm going to share what I experience. Art is an interesting thought for me, or a thought experiment that is developed in some way to a realization. Now, that realization might come in the form of a painting, a drawing, a book, whatever that it might want to be, a video in this case. But what happens sometimes is I don't follow what I'm thinking, and this can happen sometimes because of a stream of thought that is curving, like a curveball, and sometimes it's like my lack of skill. And sometimes I just follow that into a different place. I know this is hard because for the lack of skill, it really bothers me. And I don't like lack of skill being something that stops me, but it can definitely curve my stream of thought. So if I don't have the skill set, I use that thought I want to express as a learning thing. And I use that thought as an inspiration until I have learned enough to express it as I originally wanted, or I just move on to a different idea. But often I stick through it until I have enough skill set or enough tenacity to carry on. Now that goes with the category of learning, and so because I'm learning, I give myself permission to make mistakes and to lighten up, and then it becomes more of a practice rather than the determination to make a great piece of art. Sometimes it's those lightened moments that end up being better art because of the lack of pressure. Now, some people brilliantly see exactly what they want to see, and they paint what they want to see, and they do it to almost photographic. And that's wonderful, and that's another art form. But when I paint, however, I don't do that, and I really don't want to do that. For me, if I want an exact copy of what I'm seeing, I'll take a photograph. But that also, it's totally how I feel. It's not about anybody else and how their skills. I mean, I admire their skills, and that's an important thing to remember, but that is not my focus. So I want to share the brush strokes, the pencil lines, and even sometimes my eraser marks, because for me, that is part of the art too. It's the mistakes that give it the character. I feel that it is the character that you get to see into the imperfect artist or into their mind, how they think, how the emotions are investing in their expression of art. And because sometimes, a hard stroke or a soft mark will help to define the intensity or the movement or whatever. So it's in those imperfections that you see how they're trying to solve the problems, and you see how they're trying to deal with color, and you see how, or hear in some cases, if it's music, how they look at the world or hear the world or feel the world. If you do this kind of observation, then you as the observer, so I'm talking about now going from artist to observer, if you as the observer become invested into the art for a different experience, if you follow this trail I'm talking about, you don't have to have art speak to understand it, though it can help, but not always, because sometimes those people who are speaking art speak use it as a crutch to have their conversation. So don't worry about talking about art and sounding uneducated or whatever. You're expressing yourself, and it's how the art affects you is uniquely to you. It's your own opinion, so it has a different voice. And it might give other people the option to do the same. Now, you may want to verbally express it, or you might want to keep it quiet and have it special for you. And I think that's important to recognize too. So I guess I want for you to have a natural and real experience for the art. You don't have to be accountable to anybody else, and it's important for you to do this. I make lots of mistakes as an artist, and it can help me look at the art differently, to how other artists solve problems, and how do other artists look differently to pre-solve problems. It's the mechanics of how they understand their material and how they want to express it. So this depends on what I'm looking for from the art at the time, or what I want to learn from it. So I might come into a piece of art and go and say, I really love this piece today because now it helps me understand and how to solve my own problem. Or it can go, boy, I love those colors, it makes me feel a certain way or a certain emotion or whatever. And so allowing yourself to go in there and really look at the piece gives you the opportunity to get more intimate with the art. So yeah, I love the photographic perfect art, but I also love the art that is imperfect. And in honesty, I find it more interesting. It helps when looking at a piece of art to look at it broadly and then go deeper. Find the feeling or the thought rather than find the exact final outcome. I mean, you can do that broadly, the final outcome, and go out, yep, there it is. But as you step into it more and you find their solutions, or you find their intensities, or you find the emotion that's in there, you'll be able to express it, or you'll be able to feel, observe it in a more intimate way. So I guess what I'm finally want to share is art taste is different for everyone. And yes, other people have their influential expression on other people about observing. But at the end of the day, for you, I want that art expression to be for you, not influenced by someone else's external view on the art, unless it adds to your art understanding or what you want to experience. Find out what you love and develop your skills to try and give your visions the opportunity to be shared and expressed. As an observer, it's very similar to be the same way, to look at what you love, to develop the skills of observation and give your visions the opportunity to be shared and expressed. It's the same kind of deal. It's just one is driving and one is on the passenger seat. Do you notice when people stand in front of an art piece in a museum or gallery for long periods of time? It's kind of weird to see, but what's happening for that person is the observer is giving themselves time to develop an impression, an idea, a thought, a feeling, then stepping in and looking at it and seeing even more. Give yourself time to go into it more. So the next time you observe a piece of art, do that for yourself. Find the message that is available through the art. It doesn't necessarily mean what even the artist was trying to tell you, but what you have learned from something totally different. The artist has one experience, you have another. The outcome is not necessarily the same thing. And that's unique to you. That's why I find art so interesting, because it can affect everybody else in different ways. I don't connect with all art, for sure. And I don't love everybody's art. I don't. I respect it, but it may not be for me at the time. So if you don't connect with a piece of art, give yourself permission and find out why it may or may not be important to you, or you can walk away and go into another art piece that is more impactful for you. Enjoy the discovery of art and the process of art, and in turn, discover a little bit about yourself too. In this art, I didn't do it perfectly as the photograph, but I didn't want to either. I wanted to have fun with the art piece. I wanted to exaggerate a little bit. I wanted to play a little bit. And when I asked for these photos from other people, I felt that I was also given the permission to do that. Maybe a little characteristic, maybe a little more playful. And sometimes, yeah, some of the art pieces have been super focused on being accurate. And sometimes it was more focused on being appropriate. And the colors and using different tools and pushing the tools to find out what they could really do. It became this whole project has become a huge learning experience into discovery of the paints, because actually I don't see myself, or I didn't originally see myself as a watercolor artist. I always thought myself to be acrylic. So I'm learning about watercolor, layering, and all these things, about making mistakes with watercolor, about using white with watercolor. I would never have assumed that I would use white. I'm also learning about the tan-tonedness, where there's a mediumness of the paper that dictates how much I can push the watercolor and not push the watercolor. So as I go through all this, you can understand, as the observer, more of what I'm going through. And maybe not just what I'm going through, but the photograph from which I'm working on, what that person was trying to express to me too, because they came from a sense of humor, perhaps came from an intense feeling of something else. What are they experiencing, and how is that affecting my art, and how is that expression affecting you? These are all part of the journey. That's why when you look at a Van Gogh, or maybe something more abstract like a Picasso, what they were really trying to communicate. It's interesting, isn't it? Both being the artist and the observer. Sometimes you're both, because I watch myself paint sometimes as an external voice or as an external view, and I watch it develop, and I just follow the line and to see where it goes. I think that's why sometimes I have a hard time starting a painting, because I don't know where that painting is going to take me. It's a journey. It's a really interesting journey. A journey I really, really love. Because every time I look at a piece, it gives me another experience. Even though I'm the one maybe that painted the art, I look back at it and I go, what happened? What was different? What's unique? It's an interesting ride that's creating art. So now you can see how in some ways I get addicted to doing this, because I do go into my own world, and I don't always understand why people don't get as obsessive as I do about it, because I go right into the journey. I become fully invested. And it's these reasons, because I am becoming the observer and also the creator. So, Bob Ross, create your own world. Yes, but also more. It's an interesting ride. I love it. And I hope for you that you do the same, or at least give yourself the opportunity to either express yourself or observe and see where it goes. Don't be afraid to express yourself, even though maybe someone else is having a different opinion than you. They're all valid. And I know I think the worst thing I experienced as an observer was someone else telling me what they were feeling, or that they imposed their ideas upon me. And it changed my observance. And I didn't like that when I look back at it later. So if you don't feel safe about sharing your conversation, then don't. If you don't feel that person is safe with your opinions, then don't. It's okay. It's very personal, this whole experience, for sure. I think it's great. I am now at the end, and this is where I get to sign my name to this piece of art. And I know it doesn't look exact, but I got the feeling that I wanted. And I got the overall impression that I wanted. So there you go. If you like this kind of video, please let me know in the comments below. And well, consider subscribing and hitting hitting the bell icon to all to be informed when I post more. Ah, she's great. So thank you for watching, and I'll talk with you soon.